Go back, go back. I reckon one of the most scary things that can happen to you off-road is when you're halfway up a really steep climb and having the vehicle basically roll over backwards. Now, I've had vehicles get up onto their back wheels before, and that's scary. But to have what happens in this video happen, yeah, whole heap of no thanks, I don't want it to happen. Now, in this video, we're going to unpack and see what we can learn from this situation. There's a couple of things I want to point out firstly. Now, this channel is called LROR. I'm not sure what it stands for, but anyway, I've actually been out four-wheel driving with these guys. We did Weenie Creek, if my memory serves me correctly. And these guys are a bunch of really passionate four-wheel drivers. So, yeah, good team. And on this day, some things just went wrong for them, but they're out there having a crack, and there's no shame on having a crack as long as you're prepared to pay the consequences, which in this case looks like a patrol that got written off. So that sucks. But the other thing is this hill is called Widowmaker in Coffs Harbour, which is on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, Australia. And it's pretty renowned. I've never actually been there, and I would like to go and have a look at it. And, well, to be honest, I'd love to have a crack at driving it, but probably won't happen in the near future. Anyway, I did do a reacts on this hill previously. I was reacting to a channel called Buff's Off-Road Adventures, and he and his mates went and had a crack at it. If you'd like to watch that video, it's linked above. All right, let's hook into this and see what we can learn. So we can see the patrol's heading on up. As you can see, it's steep. He's got a really nice momentum going on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Right there, with the vehicle attitude, you can see how steep this is. Like, this is a steep climb. Cameras never do it justice, but this is steep. You can just see from the attitude of the vehicle. Okay, I want you to look for something. It's in the detail, and I'm going to bring it up in a moment because it's, well, it's not cool. Anyway, just be watching for it. Okay, spotter's called for left hand down, that's the correct call. You can see how light the front end is. There's hardly any weight on the front end of the vehicle. Here in Australia, a lot of our vehicles like this patrol here are very heavy in the back end because we sort of tour with them as well as rock crawl and drive them hard, and that can bring us undone at times. Okay, looking for that thing I was talking about. Can you see it? Okay, we're going for our second run. It's all about tasting and seeing, learning the hill, understanding how your car drives it on the day. You can see his tyres are aired down, big wheel lift. Oh, see what I mean? That's so sketchy. Oh, jeez. All right. This is full-on technical driving. I love it. You know, it's just so good doing this sort of stuff. Okay, this is the one. He's got a little bit more momentum. Go back, go back. Yeah, here's a replay. Yeah, it's not good, is it? That was a nice truck. That was a nice truck, yeah. Anyway, okay, let's start unpacking some of the things we see. Why did he roll? Well, what happens when you're climbing really steep climbs like this? First thing is your front end is really light. So the front tyres are very light, means you've got very limited steering. So that's the first thing. The next thing, and why I believe this rollover happened is, you know, I just mentioned about how the back end of our vehicles, because we build them as touring specs, can be quite heavy. That means when you get to a rock step like this, the vehicle has to have sufficient traction to climb that face, the rock step, to get up it. Your front end can't pull very much because it's uphill and light, so you don't have much traction from the front end. Now, as the back comes up, in this case, what's happened is the back left tyre has hit that rock step and gone, I ain't climbing this. It becomes a pivot at that point, especially when the right rear did climb it and did have traction. So it pivots the whole vehicle, and your front end, not having the weight, can't resist that pivoting motion. And that's how come he got skewed onto the hill and then obviously went into the rollover zone, and away he went. Now, let me know in the comments down below, have you picked up, it's been two times, have you picked up the major mistake made by the driver in this drive? It's shown twice. Let me know in the comments down below if you saw it. Okay, so that's why he rolled over. Now, I'm not having a go at this guy because he was aired down correctly. You can tell that he's a very competent four-wheel driver. He came in, his first drive was nice and slow, understood a bit of the hills. Second drive, he increased his momentum tiny bit. Maybe, I can't tell, but maybe he changed his line just a tiny bit. So he's understanding how his vehicle handles the hill on this day and what he can do with it. And then the third attempt, which was the unfortunate one, he's come on in and had just that little bit too much momentum, and he's ended up in this situation. He would have nearly driven that, but you can tell these things happen and it's no slight on him. Okay, what is it that I've been going on about? What is it we've seen? He didn't have a seatbelt on. Yeah, driving this country without a seatbelt on. I'm going to show you in a second a couple of cuts here that you can see in the slow-mo that he doesn't have a seatbelt on, and you can actually see at this point here his arm on top of the dashboard. That's because he's being thrown around inside the vehicle. He's not got his seatbelt on. The reason we have our seatbelts on is so that we don't come out of the vehicles and get rolled over. And there is numerous examples of drivers getting flung out of their vehicles in these sort of situations because they don't have their seatbelt on. I don't know why you would even begin to drive something like this without a seatbelt on. It's ludicrous in my mind. So that's one of the really big takeaways. Now, the reason we wear a seatbelt off-road, and I've heard all the excuses, and genuinely they're excuses. The reason you wear it is you never know when something's going to go wrong, like you roll your vehicle like this. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it actually holds you in the vehicle. So when you're moving around and you know, hit unexpected undulations or bumps and that, you're secured in the vehicle. The arguments we hear is, oh, the reason I leave it off is so that I can look out the window. Dude, if you've got to look out the window to see where your wheels are, you really need to learn about wheel placement. That's the answer I have to that comment. And that doesn't, you know, like what, so you're going to sacrifice yourself so you can see where your wheel goes? Come on. Like that doesn't make sense. So the other comment you get is, oh, I leave it off because you can't put it back on when you get on a steep climb. You're better off to have it on and then be in a situation where you go, you know what, I need to do something and I've got to take the seatbelt off, knowing that you can't put it back on. That's a manageable situation, as opposed to I'll just leave it off all the time. Now, you might not be worried about you dying, but remember that it's the people you leave behind that have to carry the pain. I carry the pain of losing my brother because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, okay, and he's dead. I carry that pain. I don't know what he thinks about that. I carry the pain. Wear your seatbelt. Okay, let's keep rolling on through. All right, I've skipped through the video a bit here. You can watch the whole thing if you wish, but it's just basically, I wanted to show you this section. They've got this set up to do the recovery. Now, these guys, I reckon there's a fair wealth of experience in amongst them. Let's just unpack what we can see going on here. You can see that there's 3 winch lines. We've got the first line going from the front of the patrol up the hill to a tree. That line is going to stop the vehicle from careening out of control back down the hill when it gets back onto its wheels. So that's an excellent thing. If you're in this sort of situation and recovering a vehicle, you want to secure it from going any further down the hill. The next winch line is up to the left there. We've got a vehicle down the bottom of the hill with the winch line coming up into a snatch block, redirecting down to the vehicle. Now, the vehicle finished up on its side, so they would have used that winch to pull it back onto its wheels, and now it's securing the vehicle from rolling over any further. Then we've got the third winch, which is the one right here in the foreground, where it looks to me like a Jeep, has got its winch rope running out across that rock to the back end slider there of the Patrol. And they'll be using that to pull the back of the Patrol towards that Jeep to level it up so that they can then bring it down the hill. So some really good planning and thinking has gone into this. Just notice on top of the rock, where that winch line is going over the rock, they've got a branch there. And that's a really good idea, because as that winch is winching in, that branch is going to stop the winch rope from rubbing on that rock and basically getting cut. So that's why they've put that there. I'm not going to guess as to why they've done it that way. That must have been the only place they could get to and they had to run the winch line over that rock for some reason. I would have thought you'd try to maneuver it somewhere else, but maybe they just couldn't, and I can't explain, you know, I don't have any input on that. So definitely a thing there. So as you can see, those of us who love doing the technical wheeling, things do go wrong when you really start pushing the boundaries, and you just got to be prepared to pay the price. Old mate's paid the price here. I've paid the price with my race car. There's a picture of it on its side. That's because I was out racing and having a good time, and hey, it all went bad and I rolled the car. I just count it as the cost. Doesn't really faze me. I don't get stressed by those sort of things. I make sure I've got in the race car, I've got a roll cage, I've got a harness, I've got a helmet on. Like I'm safe inside the car. So that's why, you know, I enjoy doing that sort of stuff. But yeah, you might enjoy this little bit of footage here where my Bandera, which is a short wheelbase Land Cruiser, is basically nearly had this happen to it. I was doing a really technical rock crawl and I ended up on one wheel and nearly went over, managed to catch it just in time, but it was a big moment. I reckon there's definitely something we can learn from that. Wear your seatbelt, understand how your vehicle's going to behave when you're doing these really steep climbs, understand how the back axle can pivot you around on these obstacles, so you just have that in the back of your mind when you're really pushing the limits technically off-road. I'm Mad Matt, stay safe on the trails.